It is my experience of having helped a lot of people. I've been asked through the years that I've been a practitioner and a teacher, I've been asked many times by friends and students to help when there has been illness or somebody has died. And my experiences and my observation is that it is immensely beneficial to do that. And what is really important, just like actually in Guru Yoga, what is really important is that there is sincerity when we ask. Let's say, for example, Jesus' blessings and guidance, support for somebody who's ill or passed away. Sincerity, and that there is energy in that request. Energy in that request, that it's serious, that it carries a charge, our request. And this is exactly the same thing with Guru Yoga, that if we don't have that sincerity, or if we don't have if we are not doing it like properly, seriously, with energy, it won't move us, it won't move him or the master whose blessings we're asking for. And it's completely commonsensical, isn't it? If we want the attention of somebody, or if somebody wants the attention of our attention, if it comes with what is that word, sense of if there is need in it, we automatically give the attention to the person who's asking for it. It is exactly like that with Guru Yoga. So this is just something about the mechanism of Guru Yoga, or if Guru's blessings are asked for somebody who's ill or has passed away. When we and this is the reason why I always recommend, I've always been happy to help in this kind of situation. And like I said, it is commonly practiced in Dharma, that in all kinds of dharmas, Christianity, Buddhism, or whatever, that when somebody's closed one is ill or passes away, that the whole community says prayers. But the prayers, because of what I just said, becomes much more strong and powerful when it is done by the person who knows the people or person concerned, because of the karmic connection and emotional connection. Okay, so that is important, or that's just how it is. Yeah, I've helped a lot of people, a lot of pets who have died, my own pets that have died, pets of other people who have died. I have helped them too. I actually help every, I eat meat, so, in order for me to eat meat, some animal has had to give their lives for that purpose. But what I do on every meal is that I pray for those animals. It is a spontaneous prayer. And I have observed how, and this is, what we as practitioners of yoga and meditation should do, is to observe that the prayers work. So when I pray for the animals whose meat I eat, I know that when I say ask Amitabha Buddha, which is the Buddha of light and awareness, to take the spirit or soul or mind of that animal to his pure land, I know that it happens because I observe what happens. So my point is that if we pray for somebody who is ill, or somebody who has deceased, it is not enough just to say the prayer and leave it at that. So what we need to do, what we should do, is that we observe, we tune in with the person who is ill, and we tune in with Jesus Christ or Padmasambhava, whoever we are praying to. So, and observe whether the blessings affect that ill person. And especially when somebody has deceased, carefully observe, tune in with the person who has passed away, get a sense of that person's energy, that person's mind, that person's, feel him or her, and make sure, observe that the blessings go to that person and that the blessings make a change in that person. Because just like when we practice Guru Yoga, we feel a change in our being. Through the blessings of Isha, Padmasambhava, whoever, our state of mind changes, right? And this also happens for those who we pray for. And it is especially important when we are talking somebody who has died, because they might not have fortunate karma or fortunate karmic connections. They might not have, if they have not been practitioners, if they have not prepared for death through different types of spiritual practices, they might be lost after they pass away. And this is the reason why people who have passed away need to be helped properly, and we need to make sure that the blessings actually affect and help that person, so that they are they don't get lost. Or if they initially got lost right away after passing, that they don't stay lost. So this might sound very difficult to do, but it is not difficult to do. Maybe it sounds scary, but we are talking about helping our loved ones, isn't it? So put that fear aside and do your best. So what we need with that, maybe a few words, what we need to do, how to actually help when somebody has passed away. Just like we tune in with masters in Guru Yoga, we tune in with these deceased people. It's sort of like, let's say, if your family member or relative has passed away, if that relative was still alive, just like you are now sitting where you are, if that person was still alive, you just think of that person, feel that person, tune in with that person. Exactly the same way. Even when we leave our physical bodies, when we die, or somebody else dies, it is simply a change in form, right? So tuning in is no different if we tune in with person who is in the physical body or out of it. Just like there is no difference in if our guru is in the physical body and we practice Guru Yoga with physical guru, or if the guru is out of the body. No difference. We might think that there is difference because if we somehow you might feel that, well, it's that person is not in the physical body, so it makes it difficult. But put that thought aside. If you tune in, tuning in will happen. And then you can help. Yeah, and when you ask for blessings of Jesus, blessings of Padmasambhava, or both, or a whole army. Should I say army when talking about Mahasiddhas? A whole group of Mahasiddhas and Buddhas of all times. Ask a blessing of all the Mahasiddhas who have ever lived for this person or deceased pet. Just feel, tune in, observe, watch. Watch in a clear-minded, sober way, as if, like I often use when talking about Vipassana meditation, observe just like you would observe, like a scientist observes little organisms under microscope. Just observe. This is not rocket science. We all can do this. Yeah. What is that? There is some kind of a... Oh, it's Monica's. Monica has hand up.
I have a question with that. May I ask it?
Yes.
Gwen did mention that her mama was Jehovah's Witness.
Right, yeah.
And won't we mingle and mix it up? I think there's a group of spirit guides everywhere. And when she belonged to a group, won't she be guided by them in a fine way to her so-called or named Pure Land? And won't we touch something where we don't belong to?
So if the person is a follower of some religion, is some sort of a practitioner, then you might, what you can do is that you can ask blessings of the founder of that religion for that person. But, if we are talking about a practitioner, whether that practice has been going to church once a week, every Sunday, or once every month, that's already a practice. That's already a strong karmic connection with some religion and its founder, right? So this would already mean that there is automatically help from, in this case, from Jesus. But nevertheless, it doesn't hurt to be sure, to make sure. And it is a good point that I shared this story, what happened a couple of months ago when I moved into this building. I live in a building, I probably told this story in the first Christ Within, Buddha Within session. So when I moved into this building, I felt that the energy, the building is for senior citizens. So all people who live in this building are already retired and over 60 years old, between 60 and 100. So when I moved here, I sensed that the energy was very stale, kind of stuffy, like stale air in a room, not flowing, not clear. So I wanted to help with that a little bit, and I asked Padmasambhava's blessings for the whole building and also the inhabitants. And I could feel that his energy, his blessing spread into the whole building, but the blessings didn't touch very well the people who live here. And then I, looked, sensed, why is that? Why doesn't Padmasambhava's blessings penetrate their bodies and minds? And I realized that that's because they don't have karmic connection with him. So then I thought that, okay, well, we are in a Christian country. Everybody's been baptized, or close to everybody. So I asked Jesus' blessings, and It's like a knife in a butter. So went nicely through. So yeah, you're right, Monica. There is something very like I recall several stories that I could tell, but I think I will. We don't have that much time, and I want to emphasize practice as always. So I won't tell all those stories, but just a notion that I have, observation that I have made throughout the years is that a lot of Buddhism is Buddhism is an atheist religion, but nevertheless, also inside Buddhism there are very different types of Buddhism, very different types of methods. So, for example, in Zen Buddhism, which is how I started my formal practice, in Zen Buddhism you don't turn to anybody for blessings. You don't turn to anybody for spiritual support. You rely on your own support. Can you say you rely on your own support? Well, you understand what I mean. While in Christianity and in other types of Buddhist methods, there is turning to asking for blessings from different spiritual masters or deities, different Buddhas. So this is something really important when it comes to dying and also what happens after death. I had a friend who was a Zen monk. He was an American man who started practicing Zen Buddhism in the late 60s with Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, who is a very famous Japanese Zen teacher, and he's the author of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, the book. So I got to know this American monk in Japan when I was training there. And so he started his practice with Shunryu Suzuki and got ordained, became a monk under Shunryu Suzuki. So I got to know this monk very well. We got along very well. And he was this really stern figure. Often Zen Buddhists are like very stern, very masculine energy, very strong, very determined. And this fellow certainly was like that. And then, he was already over 70 years old, and he was still living in Japan. This happened maybe like 5 years ago when he passed away. And his Dharma brother, him and his Dharma brother were having this temple in Japan, and his Dharma brother was away, traveling somewhere, and during his travels, this Zen monk passed away. And I heard about it, his passing away, a couple of weeks afterwards. This has happened. And, of course, I felt it immediately that, old friend passed away. And at the same time, I was curious, how he was doing after his death. Because, he was a Zen monk. He was somebody who never turned to others for blessings. So I was interested to see what his condition, what his state was, and where he was 2 weeks after his passing away. And by this time, between when we knew each other in Japan in 2004, 2005, how many years? Over 10 years had passed. So, I had, during that time, I had many experience of, tantric practice and awakening experiences and helping dead people and all that. So I tuned in with him, and I could very easily tune in with him because I knew the guy. So, it was just a matter of feeling him, sensing his presence, and which is enough, by the way. You don't have to necessarily see anything you don't have to have a picture form in your mind, or you don't have to have that kind of clairvoyance. So sensing is enough. But I also had this time, I could see him. And he wasn't in a bad place, because there are really bad places you can end up. There are actual hells with demons and scary monsters. Yes, there are. But so that's the that's the kind of the worst place you can end up. And some people do end up in those places. I'm scaring you a little bit. And but he was neither in a good place. A good place would be surrounded by teachers and masters, preferably in a pure land of some type. For example, Pure Land of Amitabha, which is really easy to get into. And that's a good point. It's really easy to get into Amitabha's Pure Land, but he never asked Amitabha to do that. So where I found him was, when we can buy from the grocery store these pickled cucumbers. So you have a jar, and there is liquid, the pickle juice, and then these pickles float like this in the jar. He was floating like that. Not unconscious, but subconscious. Exactly like in Matrix movie, you have these humans, wired into these pods full of liquid, and they are just there floating in the Matrix, right? Like that. And this pickle jar that he was floating in was his subconscious mind. So this is the same subconscious mind we are talking about when people fall asleep and they kind of pass away, fall into unconscious, subconscious, hazy, messy, abstract, drowsy, foggy sleep and dreams. This is that mind. This is that same subconscious. Bhumis 7, 8, 9, 10. Substrate consciousness, substrate mind, subconscious mind. So he was subconscious, floating in his pickle jar of subconscious mind. And I saw that, and I had seen him meditate so many times before when we trained together, and he was like a really super sharp when he, almost actually too sharp, too much effort when he sat. But here he was floating, kind of like under anesthetic. So I tried to wake up, wake him up. Nothing. A Zen monk of 40 years, floating in a pickle jar. And I kind of felt that, oh fuck, I felt so bad for him. I felt bad for him for a couple of reasons. And one of those reasons is that somebody who's practiced 40 years full time, dedicating one's whole life and energy for Dharma, shouldn't be in that condition. This is very serious. If somebody dedicates all his adult life for Dharma practice and is, well, not in these dark realms, but still in a situation, what would follow from that situation is that, he's there. Maybe I should explain it a bit more in the subconscious mind, in his own karmas, and just waiting to be reincarnated again according to his own karmic files. So he's just waiting there for him to kind of be his karmic winds to blow him to his next body, whether a human body or some other type of body. But he wasn't sober and clear, being able to make those calls, those judgments himself. So his karma will do that for him. And this is something that should not happen for practitioners. This is a sign that the practice hasn't been correct. If you can't help yourself being a professional practitioner after death, this is an indication that you haven't been a practitioner. No way. Or you haven't practiced correctly. That's just how it is. You should be able to deal with that on your own. So very serious matter. Very serious. Of course, it is extremely serious. I've been talking about this for over a decade, that there is nothing else to Buddhist practice than recognizing our own basic state, our Buddha nature. There is nothing else to Buddhist practice. So everything else is just something, a curiosity on the side, and should be seen as a curiosity on the side, in my view. So what was I getting to? Yes, so he was a Zen monk who never never asked blessings from anybody. I asked blessings for him, and the situation, I asked Amitabha's blessings, and he got help from it. But then I've also observed when when those kind of practitioners who turn to different masters, God, Buddhas, deities, when they pass away, no problem. I have never witnessed a problem with those cases. Also, there has not been a problem when somebody who has been not that religious, not really a practitioner, but baptized into a Christian church and visiting church every now and then, when such a person has passed away. No problem. Jesus will be there right away when the moment of death happens. I remember one past life of my own. I haven't really discussed my past lives for a good reason, but one past life maybe I can share with you related to Jesus. In the Middle Ages, I was a Christian monk in a monastery in Holland. That monastery is still there. I googled it and found it. Still looks the same. And I was a monk there. And there was a break day in the monastery. So all the monks were out in the nature, out in the town close by, taking care of things and taking a break from the everyday monastery life. And I continued, even if it was a break day, I continued fixing the roof of the main church in the monastery. And it's like it was a building that had very steep roof, like this very high building, this church, and a very steep roof. And I was fixing the roof with these wooden tiles. I don't know what you call them, but these thick wooden kind of tiles, roof tiles. And I fell right in front of the main entrance of the church. I fell right down and slapped in the front door. Instantly died. Yeah. And when my body hit that stone, just like when it hit, in that moment, in front of me opened a vast space, and Jesus was immediately before me. I knew that I had died. There was no pain, no fear, nothing. I remember how it felt falling in the air. And I was like, uh-oh, here it goes. And so there was no fear, no anxiousness, no nothing. And Jesus was immediately before me. And he just said, okay, let's go. So he came to get me right away. I had turned to him in my prayers. I had put my faith in him, and he was there. I didn't get lost. I have lived many lives in human bodies, and also in this life I could have easily gotten lost, but I didn't, because I had excellent karmic connections with many past Mahasiddhas, Jesus, Padmasambhava, the masters of the Mahasiddha family. So there you have how precious it is to know Mahasiddhas. Even if we passed away, not having finished our purification process, not having finished clearing up bhumis 1 through 10, these Mahasiddhas, they help us. When we pass away, when we take new rebirth, during the rebirth, during this life, during this rebirth, they will never forget us. This karma we have with Mahasiddhas will never forget us. Isn't that something? It is good. Jesus' teachings has been heavily edited and changed purposefully. So from Christian sources, it's pretty much impossible to know what he originally said. In present Christianity, there is no doctrine of rebirth, which was there originally. It was removed in the, I think, 4th century, when there were these big gatherings of priests and bishops and archbishops and whatnot. So they just removed it, just like they removed a lot of things. So I think that, still here in like a post-Christian culture that we live in, people like us, we have kind of these beliefs that we absorb through the Christian view that has been distorted and altered, which is not the original thing. We have distorted view of sexuality, which is complete nonsense. And then there is the distorted view of we only live once, which is utter nonsense. It's complete nonsense. But even if you don't remember or know your past lives, I'm sure many of you have seen glimpses and have seen your past lives, maybe 1 or 2 or 5 or something like this, and through those memories you know that past lives and rebirth is real, that we do actually we are born, we live and we die, we are born, live and die again and again and again. From human body to the next, from life forms, bodies of different types. So, but even if you didn't remember, what is really precious is that when we have a connection with any Mahasiddha, this will help us whether we are not in the physical body or in the physical body. Through that whole process of living and in the physical body, out of it, physical body, out of it. And of course, during that whole coming and going, there's also our own Christ within and Buddha within. My view, as you know, in Pemako we practice Tantra and we have a little army, a big family of Mahasiddhas to support us, who we can turn to. So I'm a huge fan after my years in Zen. I'm a huge fan of turning to Mahasiddhas for help, because it works. It works really well. So let's keep turning to these Mahasiddhas as long as we are still until we finish our own purification. That is extremely smart thing to do.